Hey guys, I'm David Hinkle from Joystiq.com here, joined by Zav D'Amatos to talk about Shadow Warrior from Flying Wild Hog. Now, explain this game to me. Is it a remake? Is it like a reimagining? It's based on a 1997 first-person shooter, right?
Forget everything you knew about that original made by 3D Realms, because this game is totally different. The only similarity between the original and this reimagining is the main character's name, which is Lo Wang, which I'm sure you can imagine comes with it a whole host of hilarious jokes.
You got Wang.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point, because wasn't the first game kind of known for its racial sensitivity in that it didn't, like, have any? You know, the guy's name is Lo Wang. I can't imagine what other kind of low-hanging fruit they were grabbing with their jokes.
Yeah, I implore you to seek out a copy of the original game. It's actually free to play on Steam right now, or just listen to the soundboard, because, yeah, there were a lot of really terrible jokes, but intentionally so. This game is not as over-the-top and juvenile as that original. I mean, there are a couple of jokes about Lo Wang, of course, but it is not as bad as that original, and a lot of sort of the racial insensitivity, that is gone as well. It's really just focused on this character and sort of stuck in the 80s. Like, the game starts with him blasting Stan Bush's Touch. So Shadow Warrior from Flying Wild Hog is lowbrow, of course, in its humor, but it's not as insensitive as the original. I mean, the original had things like every time you'd find a secret, it would play this audio file that said, "Ancient Chinese secret," again and again and again.
Ancient Chinese secret.
Rather than use Asian influence as the butt of the joke, it actually uses it for things like its setting or mythos.
Shit. I was hoping for a more cliched setting. I guess koi ponds and cherry blossoms will have to do.
Well, that sounds really great, right? Like, that's a great vehicle for the types of combat scenarios and the types of gameplay you would want from a game like this. Like, you know, you can brandish a sword, you can shoot a gun, you can have this kind of, like, Yakuza Asian gangster type of combat, right?
Yeah, and the story actually revolves around that idea. Sort of these warring gangs and these mythical creatures and demons are thrown in there as well. Now, the original game had a sword, but it wasn't a focal point. In Flying Wild Hog's game, it is the focal point. Now, there are guns, and, you know, there are guns that people who play that game will remember. You can dual-wield Uzis, for example. But the showpiece for this, for the combat, is the sword. And the sword is ridiculous, and it is awesome. And you can aim it at characters and slice in any direction that you want. And you can take off limbs and really change the way that combat works per engagement. Every engagement could be totally different. So in a room, for example, where all of these guys are attacking you, I would just crouch down and slice off their legs, and they'd fall over and they wouldn't be able to attack me anymore because they were a little busy at that point, I'd say.
Chopping dudes to bits again!
I mean, that sounds all well and good, but it's like, who wants to use a sword for an entire game, right? Like, part of these games, what makes them great is getting new guns, unlocking new guns, and you know, having new ways to dispatch countless waves of AI enemies. Like, why would I want to just play with the sword the entire game? I mean, it sounds like that's what you're saying is the way to go.
I think 2.5 hours of what I played is sort of the sweet spot. I don't know how much more of it I'd be able to take over time if it was 10 hours of the same thing. There are guns, but the sword was the showpiece for me. What they do really well, though, is they have all of these combos in it that you can unlock, and there are a ton of things to unlock in this game to keep the combat fresh.
Okay, so there is some depth to the combat, but we're kind of getting away from your first point, and what I thought was the thing that appealed to me personally. I mean, isn't this just like a big dumb game now?
Yeah, I don't want to get serious about Shadow Warrior. It is really big and dumb, like I said. I mean, you have a demon sidekick that just makes fun of you. Lo Wang talks about how awesome he is, and he's sort of just a douchebag. And I don't mean dumb in a disparaging way, I mean dumb in a really great way. And there are a lot of little touches about it that I loved, like when you hit the reload button on the sword, he wipes away any blood that's on it with his finger. It's stupid, but it's hilarious, and it's a lot of fun, and it is over the top in its gore with that sword. That sword is awesome, and I'm really looking forward to playing more Shadow Warrior.
Where are you going, Mizuyaki? Didn't you want to do business?
It's Lo Wang!
There was a part where I was walking over in this like temple area, and I go outside and I start walking over this bridge, and for some reason there's no sound or anything, but I look over to the horizon, and there is what looks like a giant black cardboard cutout of Godzilla walking by.